Now we will have 4 people who will respond to Father General's talk, what resonated most with them, and what are the implications of this message for the institution, for the conference, and IAJU. We have 4 people here from different backgrounds. Dr. Tanya Tetlow, President of Fordham University, a professor of law. Father Philip Geister, Rector, Newman Institute, Uppsala, Sweden. Professor Father Roberto Yap, President, Ateneo de Manila, Philippines, Professor of Economics. And Father Luis Monera, Rector of Javeriana, Professor of Philosophy. So we have philosophy, theology, law, and environment, economics. So I invite each of them to come here and share their thoughts. Over to you, Tanya.
Father General, we have been hungry for your wisdom. Typically, at these gatherings, we in the United States and Canada become aware of our privilege. We listen to the obstacles that many of you overcome in the rest of the world with awe. We take for granted our resources, a thriving democracy, and national support for education. This year, however, those of us from the US arrive full of new humility. For the last 6 months, we have faced an onslaught. Our government has issued vague orders to stop teaching subjects integral to Catholic doctrine, especially racial equality. Research funding focused on social justice and climate change has been abruptly ended. Financial aid for our students may be dramatically cut this week. International students have their social media checked for signs of disloyalty, been kicked out of the country, and in a few cases arrested. Some of the most elite institutions in our country have been targeted and made examples of, threatened with fines and penalties, and exhausted by investigations announced but never actually conducted. All of which sends a clear message: opposition will be punished. Injustice is not new to us in the US, but we have never gone backwards so dramatically. Many of you in this room tell us how familiar these tactics are, part of a playbook used throughout history and today in a growing number of countries around the world. You remind us that we are not alone. You give us the value of your hard-fought wisdom. As the world darkens and our eyes struggle to adjust, we can remind you of what it feels like at the beginning of things. The speed of the attack overwhelms us. What once shocked us has become chillingly normalized. We move between outrage and grief, exhaustion and denial. Father General, we have never needed your words more, not just your reassurance, but your roadmap for the work ahead. You remind us that we cannot afford to wallow in despair or cynicism, because those are the weapons designed to disarm us, to make us give up. You teach us, as Ignatius did, to assume good intentions, to listen and establish dialogue even when it feels pointless, because persuasion is the only solution, even if it proves painfully difficult, because dialogue is the whole point of universities. You remind us of the power of reconciliation, of that most difficult message of the gospel, to forgive, because we cannot do the work ahead if we become mired in hatred or anger. How do we take a stand? Father Sosa tells us to do the work directly in front of us. There is a reason the playbook of oppression often starts with attacks on universities. This, I remind my faculty, is the new measure of the power of our work, how hard some tried to stop us from doing it. We teach the most powerful antidotes to the rising forces of darkness. To believe in truth and to seek it with humility, with the willingness to be wrong. We teach students the critical thinking skills to see through the fog of propaganda. We teach students that they are part of a global church, not a nationalist sect. We remind them to worship God, not a flag. To love people they have never met as their brothers and sisters. We teach them that empathy is strength, not weakness. As they hear the mocking of the marginalized, we teach them not to laugh, but to weep at the casual cruelty of it all. Most of all, we teach our students hope. So important, it is one of our universal apostolic preferences. Hope is different than optimism. Nothing about these times inspires optimism. Hope is what we do to make the world better. Hope is how we remember our power, our responsibility, our faith. As Father Sosa reminded us, we control only the quality of the seeds we plant and the will to plant them. After that, it will be beyond our control. We will never have certainty. We put ourselves in God's hands. We who lead universities in the US now find ourselves trying to calculate the necessary sacrifice, embarrassed sometimes at our level of fear. We appreciate Father Sosa's gentle reminder that the leaders of UCA and El Salvador were willing to give their lives for the mission of Jesuit education. The painful part for us is that opposition is punished not just personally, but institutionally by attacks on our schools. If we wait to gather our strength and find more allies, is it smart tactics or mere procrastination? Father Sosa, you give us again the tools the Jesuits have used for 5 centuries in the face of so much worse. We avoid the temptations away from being present to the students we serve. We cannot afford self-pity. No one owes us a life without suffering. To be human, you tell us, is to be fragile. And we learn most when we shift our perspective to those who suffer more than we do. As we come together today, we embrace solidarity with locally and with our church, but most of all with the people in this room. The Jesuits have always been a company of friends. We use our superpower of discernment, always listening with open hearts, always checking with our values. We must not make decisions rooted in fear or anger, because those are the voices of the evil spirits. We focus on core mission, especially against the efforts to distract us from climate change and the Pandora's box of artificial intelligence. Finally, these tumultuous times wrench us away from our attachments and tear up our deeply rooted traditions. But, Father Sosa reminds us, when we are unmoored, we are at least free. This is a moment to look back on the past, not just with nostalgia, but to remember when we were already distracted from our mission. This is a moment to build the beloved community of the future, to move forward. And as the darkness spreads around the world, at least we can now more clearly see the candles that do battle with the darkness, the individual lights of courage. We remember that we are not alone. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Tanya. Now over to Philip Geister.
Dear Father General, thank you so much for your speech and for offering us so much inspiration and guidance for the upcoming work of these days. Please allow me to respond to your words in a rather personal way by commenting on some of the key terms that you have used. I picked those terms, those words, that both challenge and console me on the background of the European context in which I'm living. The first term is identity. You remind us on our vocation to be faithful to our identity. You explain that our identity is defined by our contribution to the mission of Christ. It is our vocation to participate in the love of God to the world that became incarnate in Jesus Christ. Identity is nothing that we pick. It is given to us by Christ. This is an important reminder in times where the term identity is used to divide and to separate groups from each other. In your vision, Jesuit identity will enable us to become part of the formative and transformative process of reconciliation, thus not causing division but unity. I find this very appealing. The second term I would like to underline is the term hope, which is stretching through all of your speech. Hope has got a bad reputation. It is suspected to make us blind for the severity of the challenges that our world is facing, not at least the ecological crisis. What is left of our hope is challenged by what you call in your speech the constitutive fragility that marks our personal and institutional lives. But your concept of hope takes the gospel as a starting point once again, which I find very helpful. Hope allows us to see as God sees. Hope allows us to see as God sees. This is very, very beautiful. It is a worthwhile challenge to train our students to look at a troubled world with eyes filled with this kind of hope. My third term is uncertainty. How should we deal with a global political crisis that is marked by the 4 P's of populism, polarization, post-truth, and protectionism, as you describe it? You invite us to regard the uncertainty that we experience in this world as an invitation to renew our pledge for intercultural dialogue and to continue working for the common good. But uncertainty offers also an opportunity to seize the occasion to bring about something new, especially the ecological crisis and the emergence of AI challenge us to become proactive agents of transformation. I feel energized by this idea that you formulate, to see and grasp the opportunities of a world full of uncertainties that offers us, after all, also the possibility for transformation to which we deeply are called. The fourth and last terms, I have 4 terms here which, because they form a unity, are truth, solidarity, creativity, and dialogue. These words describe virtues that you want us to practice, to live, and to promote in our institutions. None of them is possible without a deep-rooted hope that we in fact can contribute to a transformation of the world. Our efforts will show effect, and they are worth it. This is also my personal summary and takeaway of your speech. The whole idea of a Jesuit University is a project of hope. Thank you for reminding us on this foundation of our common vocation.
Thank you, Father Philip. Now over to Father Bobby.
Higher education is under siege. It needs to reinvent itself. The global higher education system is almost by every measure in a state of profound upheaval. Universities around the world find themselves navigating a disorienting convergence of crises: financial, political, cultural, and technological. Crises include disinvestment in higher education, chronic underfunding, failure to teach relevant skills, loss of trust in universities, and the growing skepticism about the value and cost of a degree. As if these troubles did not suffice, they have been accompanied by a seismic shift brought about by generative artificial intelligence and automation. Father General has given us an Ignatian perspective on this existential technological disruption. I quote, "Our identity requires us to contribute to an ethical, humanistic, and spiritual vision of the digital future. We need to create such spaces of critical dialogue with technological advances, giving clear priority to human dignity, justice, and the pursuit of the common good. This entails promoting a critical digital literacy, cultivating an ethic of care and responsibility in the design and use of technologies, and educating professionals aware of the human and social consequences of their work. Close quote. The path to the reinvention of higher education consists of at least two reforms. First, to go beyond cognitive intelligence and to nurture multiple intelligences. Second, to reassert its role as a cornerstone of society. To remain relevant not only for the youth but for lifetimes, universities need to go beyond the long-established approach of emphasizing knowledge acquisition to developing the whole person. More than cultivating cognitive intelligence, universities should also look to developing interpersonal and intrapersonal intelligences. The need to detect and respond appropriately to the moods, motivations, and desires of others, interpersonal intelligence, and is as critical as cultivating self-awareness, being in tune with one's inner feelings, values, and beliefs, and being able to draw from within to reinvent ourselves, intrapersonal intelligence, including emotional resilience. The challenge is to prepare students for a future whose adaptability and resilience, digital literacy, ethical reasoning, and creativity are more important than specific domain knowledges that quickly become obsolete. In brief, universities need to think expansively about the development of the whole person. The irrelevancies of non-cognitive learning ironically become centrally relevant in the university that is germane to the future. Father General reminds us that whole person formation has been a strength of Jesuit educational tradition. I quote, "Student well-being is a vital concern for universities. That's an element of their identity. Honor cura personalis as a distinctive characteristic of the pedagogy that promotes integral personal formation. To accompany young people requires more than providing psychological support, extracurricular activities, social service opportunities, and other dimensions of university life. For a Jesuit university, accompanying the young means forming students in hope, helping them to believe that a more just, peaceful, and sustainable world is possible, and encouraging them to play their role in building it." Close quote. Universities must reckon with their role in shaping an inclusive society and enhancing social mobility, making meaningful difference to the lives of those in the communities that are the reason of their existence. As the world confronts many challenges, demographic, environmental, geopolitical, and technological, universities are uniquely positioned to respond. The coming decade will determine whether universities remain cornerstones of society, central to individual success and collective advancement. If higher education can meet this moment with courage and creativity, it can renew its social contract and reassert its role as a vital engine of equity, innovation, and civic life. Our Jesuit charism and identity commits us to respond. As Father General exhorts us, quote, "We commit ourselves to the education of ecological citizens, men and women capable of establishing correct relationships with nature, with others, and with themselves. To this end, we must promote interdisciplinary thinking that links sciences and humanities, ethics and economics, spirituality and social action. The hope that inspires us will give us the necessary courage and depth of thought and action to use our best resources to contribute to overcoming the ecological crisis. The ecological crisis demands depth, courage, and hope. We renew our pledge to be bridges that support intercultural dialogue, to defend the rights of migrants and refugees, to consolidate our interconnectedness as members of one human family. We renew our commitment to form universal citizens, citizens who recognize the priority of the universal common good over the particular interests of nations. Close quote. Thank you, Father General, for helping us understand the higher education crisis from a Jesuit perspective and how Jesuit colleges and universities can contribute to the reimagining of higher education.
Thank you, Father Bobby. Now over to Father Munera.
I will speak on Spanish. Quisiera iniciar con una invitación a aproximarnos a este documento, que es rico y complejo, como si fuéramos geólogos del pensamiento. Se trata de un texto que por su densidad conceptual y simbólica no se entrega del todo en su primera lectura o en su primera escucha. Requiere volver a él, a su relectura, a una apropiación reflexiva. Cada lectura nos revela una nueva capa de sentido. Si en la geología cada capa es el resultado de procesos milenarios de presión, desplazamiento y fracturas, las de este texto emergen como resultado de procesos históricos, identitarios e intelectuales, de sedimentación de ideas y experiencias y de un contexto marcado por la conciencia del cambio de época que vivimos como humanidad. Una primera idea fuerza que deseo resaltar. Resuena como un eje central de su intervención la convocatoria que nos hace el Padre General a cultivar la profundidad como esencia de la vocación universitaria. En lo intelectual, en lo humano, en la lectura del contexto y en la acción transformadora. Esta se vincula estrechamente con la pregunta por la importancia, la necesidad y el sentido de una universidad de inspiración jesuita para la sociedad y para el mundo de hoy. Entendemos entonces que nuestras universidades están llamadas a ser espacio de profundidad, profundidad radicalmente enraizada en nuestra identidad. Comprometernos con la profundidad en sus múltiples dimensiones es leer y entender críticamente el tiempo presente, no habitar la superficie de la realidad con respuestas rápidas y aportar matices y perspectivas. Desde una profundidad situada, interdisciplinaria, consciente y solidaria, es posible educar y transformar desde y para la esperanza. Segunda idea fuerza. En un contexto marcado por el debilitamiento de la democracia, la universidad está llamada a ser un territorio plural, diverso, una casa para todos. En medio de preocupantes intentos por relativizar la universalidad de los derechos humanos, unos comportamientos digitales que siembran desinformación y polarización, prácticas populistas, autoritarias, nacionalistas y xenófobas que nos alejan del bien común, resulta prioritario proyectar en nuestras instituciones capacidades orientadas a crear las condiciones necesarias para un diálogo al interior de las universidades y con la sociedad que nos ayude a construir juntos propuestas de vida que miren hacia un futuro compartido. Una tercera idea que resuena es aquella en la que el Padre General nos dice, cito, que quien tiene esperanza no solo tiene fe en que otro mundo es posible, sino que se comporta desde ahora como si viviera en él. Interpreto que vivir este mundo que imaginamos, dándole vida desde el presente, tiene que ver con la convergencia dinámica de algunos rasgos que deben caracterizarnos en el pensar hoy y en el actuar hoy. Aportar una visión ética y humanista, perder el miedo a las convulsiones de esta época, reconocer la fragilidad personal e institucional con la certeza que da saber que nos cobija una vigorosa solidaridad apostólica, aceptar verdaderamente el pluralismo de las ideas y la diversidad, propiciar el diálogo poniendo como prioridad el bien común, cuidar la calidad de la semilla que sembramos y trabajar juntos en no dejar de esparcirla, comprender que somos puente y fuente viva de sentido, acoger a otros para recorrer el camino hacia y de la justicia y la reconciliación, ser voces proféticas y protagonistas de la conversión ecológica, fomentar el pensamiento interdisciplinario, navegar con sabiduría ética y responsabilidad en un mundo cada vez más moldeado por la tecnología y afianzar la idea de que la universidad es una comunidad compleja, intergeneracional y fraterna, cuyo objetivo es la búsqueda y transmisión de la verdad desde el más profundo conocimiento de todas las dimensiones de la vida. Ese vivir desde ahora el mundo que imaginamos nos conecta con la bella representación de la primavera como proceso silencioso y como metáfora del cuidado y la responsabilidad. La primavera comienza en realidad cuando la savia se mueve por dentro anunciando que la vida late aunque no la veamos. Al ser universidades confiadas a la compañía de Jesús, discernimos para cultivar y cuidar lo que está por nacer y empieza a dar señales discretas del despertar, es decir, ese nuevo mundo que imaginamos en este cambio de época. Una cuarta idea que resuena la enfatiza el Padre General al exhortarnos a mantener la universidad abierta, lo que nos exige apertura a la innovación, encontrar vías para continuar con coraje y serenidad nuestra función social en relación estrecha con diversos sectores de la sociedad y ahondar la colaboración entre universidades que hacemos parte de la IAJU, a optar por la creación de ecosistemas de conocimiento y formación. En esta intervención del Padre General se traza también el camino para hacer de IAJU un valor fundamental de cada una de nuestras universidades. Ello supone asumir en los próximos años la tarea prioritaria de conocernos mejor y de expandir ese conocimiento con y desde nuestras comunidades educativas. La cultura del encuentro adquiere nuevos significados y experiencias en este proceso de conocernos y reconocernos, poniendo la mirada en el presente y en un horizonte de futuro esperanzadores. Finalmente, hoy necesitamos cuidar juntos a la universidad como patrimonio cultural y social. La universidad como fuerza ética, crítica, plural, humanista, solidaria y dialogante. Una universidad que, así como lo planteaba nuestro recordado Papa Francisco en Laudato Si, procura difundir y dar vida a un nuevo paradigma acerca del ser humano, la vida, la sociedad y la relación con la naturaleza. El carisma jesuita de nuestras universidades nos otorga una responsabilidad inmensa al adquirir una posición única de sentido. Gracias.
Thank you, Father Munera. In fact, we wanted to make it open for the audience to share your ideas, but lack of time, I have asked 4 people to take half a minute each to share one idea which resonated with them most. I'll start with Elias Opongo, the Director of Research in Hekima Theological College, Kenya.
Thank you, Father General. Just in half a minute, I'm particularly touched by your words that in moments of uncertainty, we as Jesuit universities, we need to recognize fragility, and I would add vulnerability, as a dimension of our lives. I've learned from our alumni of peace studies at Hekima University College that vulnerability and resilience complement each other to build bridges through reconciliation and dialogue in our divided world. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Elias. Dominic, the principal of St. Xavier's College, Kolkata, India.
So very good morning to all of you. Good morning, Father General. Thank you very much for your very inspiring, very challenging keynote address. I'm sure that you have given the mission for till we meet next assembly. What touched me most in the address of you was the focus of Jesuit identity that comes from the charism of the society. What we are is more important than what we do. Another idea that touched me most was the society and the institutions are not founded by human means, therefore they will be preserved by God. Thank you very much for reminding us university is a testimony of hope, agent of hope, justice, dialogue and reconciliation. Students' well-being help them to grow in hope, to be just, peaceful, and establish a sustainable world. Expand human rights, social justice, and citizen participation are commonhood. There are many more. The last one, you said make AI serve humanity, not in assisting dehumanization. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Father Dominic. Now over to Professor Miki Sugimaro, the new president of Sophia University, Japan.
Thank you very much. The Father General's address, focusing on the universities as a witness of hope, inspired us because the university are apostolic, marked by the solidarity, creative, and dialogical, and also further reminded us the university should scatter seed on and off campus. These points inspired me a lot because now the Sophia University, especially the 1913 in Tokyo, we are now focusing more the human dignity, peace, and sustainability as one of the UNESCO chair university. We attach importance on the education for sustainable development, ESD, and also the global citizenship education, GSED, which are also addressed by the international society. Also the research area, the father already emphasized the importance and significance of an interdisciplinary approach and beyond the human, social, and natural sciences, which should face the global issues, and our students need to thinking about with the critical thinking and creativity or communication skills as intercultural competencies. Finally, I like to embrace the role and its responsibility of the Jesuit University, and fathers told us we need to change in order to remain unchanged as a Jesuit University's identity, I think. So thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to extend my sincere appreciation to the father's great address. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Father Miki, Professor Miki. The last one, we have Father Alan Thomas, Faculty of Loyola, Paris.
Thank you. Father General asked us to reinforce our identity. That's why after our 50th anniversary, we changed our name. And the Centre Sèvres became Faculty Loyola Paris. No, it's not a joke, but it came like that. But more deeply, it's encouraging us to deepen our understanding of our specific pedagogy, to more and more take care of our students, to train our teachers and personal indignation spirituality, and to develop the bonds and solidarity with other Jesuit formation centers. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, one and all. Thank you, Father General, for your talk, and thank you for all the respondents.